it. Good work. Yeah, usually there's some big air here. There we go. Joe Off-Road, we're in for a good time. Welcome back, guys. Well, as you can tell, today's video is a little bit different. A little bit of a longer extended intro, kind of showing the good. If you can't tell by the title of the video, we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of four-wheeling. This is kind of an extended portion of Ruby Falls Part 2. And I say that lightly in the aspect that we had an issue on the trail, and that issue magnified, thus calling ugly. So we're going to play a bit of a clip. I'm going to be kind of in the corner of the video, either up here or down here somewhere, with just this, my backdrop. Well, as you guys can kind of tell, we are working under Kevin's 4Runner. Kevin unfortunately had a issue on the trail, thus we call the bad. So for those that don't understand the good, the bad, the ugly, things can happen at any time while four-wheeling. One of my other videos, link here, where I described my worst trail break ever. I had a few different issues on the trail, from broken leaf springs to broken oil pans to ring and pinions. Guys, it happens. People roll over. Typically when you start wheeling harder, things break easier. Kevin broke on what I would consider a fairly easy trail. Ruby Falls, gorgeous as you guys saw. The scenery, and honestly one of my favorite trail just to kind of go break things in, make sure things are happening. The problem with Ruby is you have to expect the unexpected. As you guys can kind of tell, we're still working under Kevin's 4Runner here, and if you haven't been able to tell yet, we have transmission fluid and coolant leaking all over the trail. This led to some pretty major ingenuity on the trail, and that's what I call the bad. Breaks happen, guys, so plan for the unexpected. Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. Luckily my toolkit is still pretty based towards my Toyota running gear, and I say that because I had a 5-minute epoxy in the toolkit, and my toolkit Canadian, yeah, like I said, a 5-minute epoxy kit. So I was able to, in my opinion, fix a rad with a crack. Typically though, the problem is you need heat. We didn't put it on heat, we weren't thinking about that. So the other issue became transmission fluid. Nobody, not even myself, brought any transmission fluid. Two of the guys with fairly up-tip, I would say actually 5 of the 6 vehicles, 5 of the 6? John, myself, Jason, Noel, Spence. Yeah, 5 of the 6. Fairly upkept vehicles. And I say upkept by maintenance, pretty constant. As you guys have tell, I've got a couple videos on Rexus alone, fixing trail damage, oil changes, oil leaks. I'm still working the bugs out. I should have expected the unexpected. I didn't. I have not myself had issues with transmission fluid since wheeling, so I actually took it out the night before. So we didn't have any transmission fluid. I had luckily bought some Lucas oil stabilizer and Canadian Tire parking lot in Edson, because I had developed an oil leak, and I wasn't going to have that stop me from wheeling through the day. So we looped his transmission, and you'll see that in the video here, but we looped his transmission, just took the hoses and looped them around, and hopefully had enough transmission fluid left in his transmission. He'd gone probably, I'll call it 100 and 150 yards, somewhere in there, a little over a football field from the ice crossing that I'd broke, and he went up, and it was deep water, fairly large chunks of ice. It came up, one of the chunks of ice came up, and he didn't have a skid plate. So this is the importance, guys, of factory skid plates, aftermarket skid plates, especially on an independent front suspension vehicle that really requires it. So it came up, it hooked his transmission cooler line, which on, if you don't know, on Toyotas is built into the radiator, as I've heard the US guys will say radiator, I say radiator. Anyways, so it hooked the transmission line and it ripped off the rad. Typically not a huge ordeal. You're just going to lose some tranny fluid. Cool. Not. This led to the rad cracking right at that spot, and he leaked all his coolant out on the trail. So at this point, like, what do you do? So we looped his transmission. We actually took his transmission line fitting that went into the rad, cut it down, and then epoxied over that, and then used that to plug the hole, and then epoxied all around. I wanted it to set as long as it could, so we ended up pulling them as long as we could, guys, with no water in the system. So I was pulling them. Rexus did great pulling them, but to no fun, I should say, no avail. His rear brakes were frozen, so this added a whole nother complication. So you're wheeling in water, and it's below zero or below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's gonna freeze. So his rear brakes actually locked up one of the wheels. So while pulling them, it was always twisting them. We made the judgment call to top up his rad, and we're gonna have him run so he could use his own fluid, his own power. Didn't have enough transmission fluid. Whatever. We ended up taking, and at that point, filling it with river water because we didn't have enough water. Another thing, you're out in the trail. None of us brought enough drinking water for at least a day or two. The idea was, hey, there's a guy in Edson. He's got a truck and a trailer. Well, something happens. He'll tow me, right? I did. But we should have all been prepared for the worst, because it could have been more than one person break. It could have been more than two people break. I'm sure we could have scrounged enough up. But anyways, we used river water to fill his rad and some coolant just in case. You know, obviously we're in sub-zero temperatures. Yeah, if his vehicle's running, it's going to be fine. Leaving out of the river, going a couple miles down the trail at this point after putting, and you guys know how Lucas flows. Lucas flows like crap. Through a transmission fill or dipstick hole, because there's no fill spot anywhere on that transmission to do it. We fill his transmission enough that he got enough fluid to actually pump to get his transmission working. So we never had another transmission issue after we got that in. But and this is where it says it gets ugly, and this is still just the bad. He rips the lower rad hose off because no one did the clip up. No one put a hose clamp back on his lower rad hose, so we lost all the coolant. At this point, we're thinking the worst, because he goes, yeah, about 5 minutes ago I lost heat. So guys, if you ever lose cap heat, something's wrong. So he ended up taking, and he ran for 5-10 minutes without any heat, any coolant. Likely cooked the head gasket at this point. He complained that he said it was going before because he had overheating issues every once in a while, and it would pop the rad cap and he'd be steaming out. Again, maintenance is very important, guys. You're going, especially with a daily driver, or not even necessarily a daily driver, a vehicle that you drove to the trail and you plan on driving back. It's very important that you have the ability to drive there and back without any issues. Not to mention you're going off-road. All fine and dandy. Fill them back up. We didn't want to put the rad cap on because I didn't want any pressure on this epoxy that was still setting. That was probably our saving grace, because the epoxy had set, because the whole rad and everything got nice and hot, and it set that epoxy. So his rad actually held water. We got about 3 hours in trying to get him off the trail, and now think we're 125 kilometers, about 80 miles from my truck and trailer. We sent Paul. Paul went actually with Jason. The group of 3 went on their own, and another group of 3, so me and John, were ensuring that Kevin was going to get off the trail. So we sent Paul to Edson to go get my truck and trailer. Keep that in mind. So we get Kevin off the trail, finally. We ended up putting the rad cap on and it held. Kind of. So we're going along, and it's snowing. I mean, like, it's not even like light snowing. It's snowing heavy, and you're going to see in this clip now. And it's icy, and you can't even see the guy's tracks that had left 2 hours before on the road. And we missed the corner. Rather than heading back towards Robb, Alberta, we continued on towards Hinton, not even realizing it. So not only have we made a wrong corner, Kevin's hit the ditch. As you can see in this clip, Kevin is in the ditch. So this is where I say the ugly. Things got really ugly. Luckily, everything kind of worked out for the good. Kevin blew 2 beads at once here, front right, back left. I will go to pull him out. I'm out of fuel. I use his fuel to top up. Not to mention we're 22 kilometers from Hinton. Anthony kind of recognized that we were headed in the wrong direction through his cell phone on some of his cached maps. It was a gong show, guys, and that's, I say, the ugly. A semi-botched recovery, and I say that by, we got a blown head gasket, we've got a vehicle, we got me running out of fuel. He runs out of fuel 3 kilometers after we put air in his tires. Paul and I had said, just stay on this road, it'll take you to Hinton. We're gonna go get fuel. We, Paul, Anthony and I, we went and got fuel, and turn around, Kevin's 3 kilometers from where we left him. And this is where it kind of got even uglier. We had realized we had 0 cellular contact with Paul during this time. We went to Hinton, we tried. So Paul's out on a forestry trunk road, a mining road, with my truck and trailer. It's 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. 0 communication with him. We're just hoping to God he remembered how to get to the trailhead. Throw Kevin and his girlfriend, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, into the Rexus, and we just drive. We found Paul 66 kilometers from Hinton. 44-ish kilometers from where we were. Paul, you did excellent. He actually got us right to where the unplowed section began, turned the truck around, and truck and trailer around, and parked and waited. Actually had a nap, which was a little bit of a saving grace for getting home. Save you all the little nooks and crannies. We don't have a ton of more footage, but we got Kevin home 6:30 at morning the next day, which is 24 hours later that I met him. I had met Kevin obviously before, but 24 hours later he got home. Paul and I didn't get home until almost 10:30 that next day. Guys, it was just a long day. Lessons learned. Be more prepared. I'm going to make sure I got more fuel in my cruiser when I'm going. Shouldn't have had it, left it in the Dodge. Kind of felt rushed. Never be rushed, guys. So we're working on doing Ruby Falls again. Paul really wants to get back out. I'm going to get him. I think he's got the bug. I think he's going to be in a 4-wheeling. And we're working on a semi-successful YouTuber. I shouldn't say semi. He is very successful. He has 600,000 subscribers. Trying to get him out wheeling with us again. I'm when a couple of his videos passed. And hopefully we can get him out wheeling Ruby Falls with us. I told him even if it's just his side-by-sides, I think it'd be awesome. And then hopefully go out with a couple other guys. I'd like to go out with John again. And then my buddy Byron's turboing his cruiser right now. So hopefully we can get him out too. We're going to do things differently. We're going to go to Hinton, stay the night in Hinton. And we're going to wheel in on a different section. Kind of change things up. Hopefully some drone footage too. So anyways guys, I hope you liked the video. I know a lot of audio, not a lot of great footage. That's why I gave you that about minute of intro. What I call good. The good of wheeling. As I say, the good, the bad, the ugly of four-wheeling, off-roading, whatever you want to call it. So anyways, if you liked the video, please give me a like. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. Little notifications on. And leave me a comment below what you guys thought. Maybe if you've got a similar story, share in the comments below. If you've got a story you want to put on video, put it on video. And tag me in it. I will watch. I will comment. Take care, guys.